Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that might just shift your spirit today. There's a reason why some women don't break. They've been through the fire. They've tasted betrayal, heartbreak, and disrespect. And still they walk like nothing ever touched them. Not because they're cold, not because they're numb, but because they are covered. There's a force surrounding her, leading her, and making a way for her, even when she can't see it. And once you recognize those signs, you'll understand why she keeps getting back up. Why no weapon formed against her truly succeeds. So if you are that woman, or you're on your way to becoming her, don't scroll past this. Every second of this message is a mirror showing you the strength you carry. To the world, it might look like she's alone, like she's missing out. They might wonder how a woman like her moves through life without always needing someone beside her. No entourage, no crowd, no grand entrance. Just her moving with grace and silence with deep purpose. But what they don't know is that she's never truly alone. She isn't empty. She isn't waiting for applause. She's not searching for attention. She's walking with something deeper, something most people don't understand because they're too busy chasing noise. She's been through too much to rely on temporary people. She's had people come and go from her life like it was a revolving door. She's been betrayed by those she trusted, abandoned when she needed someone most. And still, she didn't let that destroy her. It didn't turn her bitter. It made her wiser. It showed her that some people come into your life just to teach you how to stand on your own. And once you master that walk, you realize you were never truly alone. You were being covered, separated, kept for something greater. When a woman learns how to walk on her own, it means she's learned how to hear her own voice again. Not the voices of guilt, not the lies of fear, not the whispers of manipulation, her own voice. The one that speaks truth even when the world tries to drown it out. The one that tells her when to exit a room, when to cut ties, when to trust, when to hold back. That voice is never loud, it's sacred. It only speaks when peace is present. That's why she walks alone, so she can hear it clearly. She knows that not every presence is a blessing. Not every crowd is safe. Not every friend is loyal. She's learned how to read energy, how to notice what doesn't sit right with her soul, how to recognize danger that wears a smile. And once you've spent enough time around the wrong people, being alone feels like peace. It's not loneliness, it's liberation. It's the kind of freedom that makes you enjoy your own presence. And that's what makes her untouchable. Evil doesn't always come waving red flags. Sometimes it blends in. It charms. It pretends. And those who are always distracted, always needing someone around, they often miss those signs. But not her. Because she's learned to walk solo. She's developed a sharp spirit. She doesn't need warning. She can feel when something's off. Her spirit speaks louder than words. And her quietness keeps her alert. People often ask, how is she so fine being by herself? What they don't understand is that solitude taught her the difference between being needed and being used. It showed her how to stop pouring into empty hands. It taught her that love isn't about begging anyone to stay, it's about honoring yourself enough to let go. She no longer fears letting people go. She embraces it because she knows peace is too expensive to keep paying with her energy. What guards her isn't just physical, it's spiritual. It's the unseen hand that pulls her away from harm. It's the inner whisper that tells her no even when everything around her screams yes. That protection might not be loud. No big signs. No applause. But it shows up in moments others don't see. The message she didn't reply to. The person she didn't meet. The offer she turned down that later proved to be a mess in disguise. That's not by chance. That's divine protection. And that protection becomes stronger when she walks in silence. Because when you walk with too many voices around you, their noise drowns out your clarity. Their opinions cloud your vision. But when you walk alone, your insight sharpens. You hear better. You move with power, not pressure. And that power, evil can't touch it. Some people will get it wrong. They'll say she's distant, that she's cold. But they don't understand that her silence isn't a barrier, it's a sanctuary. It's where she restores herself. It's where she listens to truth. It's where she builds her strength. And most of all, it's where she becomes unshakable. She's not wandering. She's not lost. She's not walking aimlessly. She's being led. Every step she takes is reason. Every path she chooses holds purpose. Every quiet moment alone reminds her in every dark force out there she's not weak. She's not easy to trick. She's covered. And being protected doesn't always show up like armor or swords. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like solitude. Sometimes it looks like a woman walking alone, but holding the strength of an army within her. So next time you see her head up, walking confidently, no one beside her, don't pity her. Don't assume she's missing something. Know that she's walking in power. She's aligned. She's in a season where separation is protection. And she's never been more strong. She doesn't owe explanations. She doesn't wait for someone to show their true colors before trusting her intuition. Her spirit senses things before actions confirm them. When someone steps into her space, she feels it. A shift in energy. A strange tension. A silent alarm. It's not paranoia. It's awareness. She doesn't guess. She knows. When she enters a space, she sees not just with her eyes, but with her soul. While others fall for smooth words, fake smiles, and shiny packaging, she sees through it. She's not impressed by show. She's not moved by masks. She's danced with pain. She's faced deception. She's survived betrayal. And once you've been through that fire, your spirit doesn't just recover, it transforms. Her awareness is now her armor. Her quiet becomes her defense. She pays attention not just to words, but to tone, to timing, to the feeling behind them. That uneasy vibe when someone smiles, but your heart says otherwise, she listens to that. That's how she stays protected, not by fighting, not by accusing, but by recognizing. She doesn't need to argue to prove she knows. Her spirit already confirms it. Sometimes she can't even explain why, but when someone looks perfect on paper, yet something still feels off, she believes that feeling. She doesn't wait for drama, doesn't ask for closure. She just creates space. Because she knows not everything good looking is good for her. Not every opportunity is divine. Not every admirer has pure intentions. That's why she's safe. She doesn't shut down her inner voice. She leans into it because it's never led her wrong. That voice kept her from another painful cycle. It warned her before danger hit. It protected her when words failed, when people disappointed her. She doesn't broadcast her intuition. She just moves different. When something shifts, she adjusts. No chasing. No begging. No guilt. She protects her peace without apology. She doesn't care to prove a point. She's focused on preserving what she worked hard to build: her peace, her vision, her healing. Darkness isn't always loud. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it wears a smile. Sometimes it pretends to help. That's why her intuition is her strongest defense. She's seen kindness used as manipulation. She's had normal conversations that left her spirit drained. That's why she no longer judges with eyes alone. She listens with her spirit. And the more she trusts that inner truth, the more in tune she becomes. Confusion no longer clouds her. People who used to access her can no longer reach her energy. She knows the price of ignoring her spirit. She's done it before. She gave chances she shouldn't have. Stayed longer than she should have. But she learned. The hard way, yes, but she learned. And now, she doesn't give darkness the benefit of the doubt. Her shield is her awareness. Her gift is in seeing without being loud. She doesn't always need to call it out. Sometimes she just removes herself. Sometimes the best move is no reaction, no fight, just wisdom, just stillness. She doesn't debate what her spirit already knows. If something feels wrong, she trusts it. That keeps her ahead, miles ahead. Some will call her too guarded, too sensitive. But they don't realize her sensitivity is her superpower. It was shaped by pain. It was refined by experience. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. She doesn't ignore the shift in the room. She feels it. She honors it. That's why evil can't reach her easily. That's why manipulators grow uncomfortable around her. They can't hide behind fake smiles. She sees through it all. She doesn't need proof. Her knowing is silent, but it is powerful. And that deep knowing, that sacred intuition, that's what keeps her from walking into traps, from falling for empty words, from entertaining what doesn't match her soul. She can sense shadows before they show up. And that's why she walks in light, not just the kind people see, but the kind that helps her truly see. And that kind of light no evil can touch. The enemy isn't worth her time. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. She's been through too much to let petty people pull her into chaos. She's seeing how the enemy moves not always by attacking directly, but by distracting her, stealing her focus, disturbing her peace, and trying to blur her purpose. Once you understand that some people show up to provoke you, not because they're strong, but because they feel threatened by your calm, you stop giving them the pleasure of your reaction. She knows how to walk away, not because she's afraid to fight, but because she refuses to waste her fire on battles that go nowhere. She realizes some people appear just to create confusion, to test her patience, to tempt her to act out of character. But she's grown past that. She's too grounded, too focused. Growth teaches you that silence can be your power, distance can be your defense, and peace becomes your win. She's learned that protection doesn't always look like being hidden from the storm. Sometimes it's having the strength to ignore it, to not reply to the message, to not show up for the fight, to not get caught up in the noise. That's real maturity, when you're not shaken by every push or provocation, when you see the trap and choose to go around it, not through it. Some will try to mess with her peace. They'll try to provoke her using lies, guilt, and manipulation. They'll press her buttons just to see if they still control her. But she's upgraded. She's leveled up. She doesn't run on emotions anymore. She doesn't move on impulse. She walks with purpose. She knows her attention is precious, and she won't waste it on people who haven't earned her presence. That's the difference between a woman who's guarded and one who's reactive. A protected woman has learned to pause before speaking, breathe before replying, and think before acting. She understands that some people only want to drain her. They want to distract her from her mission. They want to break her focus because they can't handle how centered she is. When you carry light, darkness always tries to pull you in. But it only succeeds if you walk into the shadows. So she stays grounded. She guards her peace. She lets people assume, talk, and think whatever they want. Because at the end of the day, her purpose speaks louder than their opinions. She's not here to prove her value. She's here to protect her energy. And that's what unsettles wicked people: a woman who doesn't flinch, doesn't respond, and lets her silence speak louder than their noise. When you don't react, you take their power away. When you don't respond, they're left talking to themselves. And when you walk away from battles that don't belong to you, you walk away with peace intact. Her protection is in that stillness, in the wisdom that reminds her you don't need to fight every fight. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to explain yourself to those determined to misunderstand you. She knows who sent her. She knows what lives inside her. And that's why she doesn't need to prove it. Some will say she's cold. Others will say she's distant, that she should have said something, that she should have reacted. But she knows the cost of stepping into mess. She knows how easy it is to lose your footing when you're fighting in places that were never meant for you. So she doesn't argue. She doesn't defend. She rises above the lies, above the drama, above the noise. Because she understands that elevation requires separation. Each time she walks away from what was meant to destroy her peace, she's protected. Each time she picks silence over revenge, she's strengthened. Each time she refuses to prove herself to those beneath her purpose, she grows. She doesn't take on every fight, because some are just noise, some are bait, and some are beneath the woman she's become. Her discipline is her protection. Her silence is her armor. And her victory, that's in the fact that she's still standing, still calm, still focused, still powerful. While the world tries to pull her down, she remains unshaken. She doesn't fall for it. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't fight. Because she already knows she's won. Not everyone deserves a place in her life, and she knows that. She's not chasing popularity. She's not trying to impress anyone. Her loyalty can't be bought, and her energy isn't up for grabs if she values her peace too much to allow just anyone near. Because once you've been betrayed, once you've been wounded by people you trusted, once you've faced fake smiles hiding real harm, you learn. You learn that access to you is earned, not given. She doesn't keep people around just to feel less lonely. She doesn't settle for shallow friendships that drain her spirit. If it's not genuine, if it's not built on truth, love, and trust, she cuts it loose. She's not afraid of being alone. In fact, she thrives in it. Because in her silence, she finds clarity. In her stillness, she hears wisdom the noise would drown out. That's why her circle is small. Not because she's antisocial, but because she's intentional. She understands energy. She knows the people you let in can either lift you up or tear you down. So she protects her space like it's sacred. She's seen that evil doesn't always show up loud. Sometimes it hides behind a quiet smile. Sometimes the ones who cheer the loudest will secretly want you to fall. She's felt that sting. Now she listens deeper, watches closer. She no longer lets labels like friend, family, or love blind her to behavior. She doesn't need a crowd. She just needs a loyal few. People who celebrate her without competition. People who don't gossip because they have character. People who don't smile in her face and plot behind her back. And if she doesn't find those people, she's fine walking alone. Because being at peace with yourself beats being in chaos with others. She'd rather walk alone in truth than be surrounded by lies. Her spirit stays pure because she does the inner work. She doesn't just guard herself from others, she checks herself too. She faces her own flaws. She holds herself accountable. She forgives not because others deserve it, but because she refuses to carry bitterness. That's her protection, refusing to let darkness grow inside her. She knows what you carry becomes what you attract. So she releases hate. She releases envy. She releases revenge, not out of weakness, but from wisdom. She knows a clean heart hears clearer. She knows blessings flow freely when there's no blockage in the soul. Evil grows in bitterness, and she refuses to nurture that. She lets go of the pain. She heals. And through that healing, she becomes untouchable. Evil people can't use guilt to trap her. They can't twist her emotions. They can't drag her into their messy games because she's not living from old wounds anymore. She's aligned now. Her tight circle is her shield. It's not about how many, it's about how real. Real recognizes real. Loyalty finds loyalty. And her life is built on truth, not attention. That's why darkness can't reach her. It can't survive in an atmosphere that's pure. A clean spirit exposes the filth in others. It makes manipulators uneasy. It makes liars anxious. It makes users leave because they can no longer feed off her. She doesn't chase people. She doesn't beg for love. She doesn't force connections. If it's not mutual, if it's not sincere, she releases it. She understands anything forced isn't right. Anything meant for her won't make her sacrifice her peace. That's why she sleeps soundly. Not because her life is perfect, but because her circle is true and her spirit is at rest. And no matter how deeply she loves someone, if they disturb her peace, she'll choose herself every single time. Because she's not afraid of being alone. She's afraid of losing herself in false connections. She's afraid of giving to people who only take. She's afraid of repeating cycles she worked hard to break. So she stays guarded. Not close, just wise. And when something feels off, she trusts that feeling. Because experience taught her, peace is a compass. Chaos is a warning. Her circle is made of people who don't need to be watched. Their loyalty speaks for itself. Her spirit is pure because she's done the work. Her life is protected not because she fights off darkness, but because she doesn't let it in. That's why she stands tall. That's why she walks boldly. She's not carrying dead weight. She's not dragging old pain. She's not entertaining soft-voiced snakes. Her life is rooted in truth, and that life cannot be shaken. Not by lies, not by betrayal, not by evil hiding behind sweet words. Her circle is tight. Her spirit is clean. And that is her armor. There's something powerful about a woman who doesn't panic when the storm hits. While others are losing control, grasping for order, she stands steady, calm, firm, grounded. She doesn't let the chaos outside disturb her calm inside. Her peace isn't built on conditions. It's built on something stronger. Something earned. Something forged in hardship, pain, and struggle. She didn't find peace because life was kind. She found it because life tested her, broke her, stretched her, and she still stood. This kind of peace can't be faked. You can't pretend your way into it. You can't borrow it from someone else. You have to earn it. You have to walk through fire and not let the fire define you. You have to see everything fall apart and still choose not to fall with it. You have to lose what you thought you needed, say goodbye to people you thought were forever, and still rise with purpose. That's where real peace is born. Not in ease, but in overcoming. Will come, but she's not shaken by it, because she's rooted in something deeper than her emotions. She doesn't chase after closure. She doesn't demand explanations. She's discovered that peace often arrives when you stop trying to figure everything out and start trusting the journey. She doesn't need all the answers to feel secure, she just needs her mindset to stay firm. That's why when trouble appears, she doesn't panic. She's been through it before. She stood in the dark and didn't let it swallow her. She's felt fear and still kept going. She's cried through the night and still rose in the morning with fire in her spirit. She knows how to stay calm in the middle of chaos because her peace isn't tied to the lack of problems, it's tied to the power within her. People often think her stillness means she's weak, but they have no clue what it took to find that stillness. It takes courage to stay calm when everything's loud. It takes inner strength to be kind in a world that encourages anger. She doesn't argue to be right. She doesn't fall apart just because things didn't go as planned. She's learned how to move with the waves without letting them drown her. That's not just growth, that's protection. That's true spiritual armor. She doesn't need everything around her to be calm in order to feel okay. She builds peace inside herself. She protects it. She nurtures it. She guards it like something sacred, because she knows people will try to shake her and life will try to break her. But as long as her inner world is in order, the chaos outside can't touch her. That's why you'll see her walking through fire with a smile like she's strolling through peace. Because peace isn't about what's going on around you. It's about what's going on inside you. And toxic people, they hate that. They hate that they can't get to her, that their mess doesn't move her, that their silence doesn't make her question herself, that their mind games don't work on her. They'll throw shade, but she won't blink. They'll try to confuse her, but she stays clear. Because she knows if they can't take your peace, they can't take your strength. So she holds on to it like her life depends on it. Because in many ways, it truly does. She's not blind. She knows storms will come. Life has shown her that peace doesn't mean life is perfect. It just means you're no longer controlled by the imperfections. That's why she doesn't speak fear. She doesn't expect to fail. She prepares her mind. She builds her spirit. And she walks with quiet confidence through every low point. Because she knows valleys are temporary, but the character you build in will carry you higher. She doesn't need everyone to agree with her path. She doesn't explain her choices to people who only want to judge. Her peace protects her from that. It gives her the space to move quietly, to pick her battles, to walk away without needing to justify it, to focus on what truly matters, to breathe deep, even when life feels heavy. That's real protection, not from pain, but from reacting in ways that give pain more power. So while others panic, spin, and rush, she moves slowly. She moves with purpose. Because when your peace is whole, your vision stays sharp. You don't chase, you don't fear, you don't collapse. You flow, you trust, you rise. And even when the world feels like it's falling apart, she doesn't. Because she's not built on the world, she's built on strength, on wisdom, on an inner core no storm can shake. That's how you recognize a woman who's protected. Not because life doesn't test her, but because when it does, she remains steady. She doesn't let the noise outside mess with the calm inside. And that is the mark of a woman who's been through the fire and came out stronger. A woman who knows herself. A woman who doesn't need life to slow down because she's already carrying peace within. There's something fierce about a woman who doesn't beg for answers, doesn't chase people, doesn't hold on to what's clearly slipping away. When her spirit feels something shift, when the vibe turns dark, when the peace begins to fade, she pays attention. She doesn't wait for drama. She doesn't wait for proof. She doesn't need a big scene to confirm what her soul already senses. She just walks, and she does it with her chin high, full of grace, and most of all, without looking back. She understands what many people miss: peace is costly. And anything that threatens that stillness, that clarity, is too expensive to hold on to. She's not afraid to release, not scared to lose people, not worried about disappointing those who expected her to settle, because she knows the cost of staying misaligned is far higher than the pain of walking away. Some might call her silence cold, but she knows it's clarity, it's strength, it's self-preservation. She doesn't entertain confusion. She doesn't engage with chaos. She doesn't argue for validation. When something feels off in her soul, she honors it. She respects her gut feeling like it's sacred, Because she's learned sometimes your soul knows what your mind hasn't figured out yet. And if you keep staying where you feel empty, you'll start shrinking just to survive. And she's not here to shrink. She's here to live. She walks not because she's cold, but because she's healed. She walks because she knows you can love deeply and still let go. You can forgive fully and still not open the door again. She's not bitter, she's just not bleeding for people who wouldn't even notice she was hurting. That's not arrogance, that's growth. When she walks away, she doesn't slam the door. She doesn't throw words around. She doesn't make noise. That's not her. Her quiet exit says more than words ever could. And those who notice her closely know when she leaves, something sacred leaves with her. Because her presence isn't average. It brings light. It brings healing. It brings calm. And when she's gone, the space feels different. The atmosphere changes. Because what she brought can't be copied. It can't be replaced. Toxic souls hate that. They hate that she won't play their games, won't stay to pretend, won't lower her values to feel accepted. They hate that guilt doesn't work on her anymore. Chaos doesn't pull her in. She's too grounded now, too rooted in truth, too connected to her mission to let anything take her off course. There's a reason she doesn't explain herself anymore, doesn't defend her silence, doesn't argue her choices. Because she understands peace doesn't need to be explained. You either feel it or you don't. And if you don't, that's not her burden. She didn't come here to be understood by everyone. She came here to protect her light, to live her truth, to walk in her calling. And if leaving is what it takes to guard that, she'll walk with grace, without hesitation. She's learned how to let go. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. She knows some people only show up to teach you what to avoid. Some situations come just to remind you how valuable you are. And when their purpose ends, so does her presence. She doesn't force anything to stay. She's finished watering dead plants. Done explaining herself to people who benefit from her confusion. Done showing up where she's barely welcomed. When she leaves, it's not out of anger, it's out of care for herself. It's about honoring the woman she's becoming. The one who doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. The one who's not available for anything that doesn't grow her, heal her, or lift her spirit. That woman, she's unstoppable. And that's how you know she's protected. Because no matter how loud things get, no matter how tempting the mess, no matter how many people try to pull her back, she walks away. Not just with her feet, but with her heart, her energy, her spirit. She doesn't leave pieces of herself behind in broken places. She leaves whole. She leaves ready. That kind of wisdom, that kind of peace, that kind of self-love that's not learned in books. That's learned through pain, through betrayal, through long nights and quiet strength. That's how she became this version of herself. A woman who doesn't just survive toxic energy, but rises above it. Because nothing evil can cling to a soul that is this aligned, this aware, this divinely covered. If you see even a trace of this in your life, know that you're not forgotten. You're not weak. And you're definitely not being punished. You're being protected. And sometimes the greatest blessing isn't what shows up, but what never reaches you. Walk boldly. You are chosen.